Good morning, everybody. How are you doing? I hope you're well. Yay, we're back. I'm in the same chair, same position. Today, the subject is, how to encapsulate it. I suppose this is all about kind of nailing down saving every last penny that you can. So in the previous video, a couple of videos back now, I was talking about that year of having a no spend year, and it may be because you want to have a go at living a wage-free life. It may be because you would like to take early retirement and you'd be moving on to a really small fixed income. So before that happens, trying to get rid of some of your debt. It may be that, you want to pay off your mortgage, your credit card debts. You want to get out of that grind of just working every day purely to service your debts. Whatever your motivation, great that you're kind of thinking about these things, great that you want to address them. Your motivation and how motivated you are will affect how far you want to go with the brutality of living without and being, beyond frugal, frankly. So, I hope, millions of pieces of paper again. I hope all this stuff I'm going to talk about today will be relevant on some level, on some scale or other. How far you take all of this it's entirely up to you, and it's entirely based on, like I say, how motivated you are, because I don't think any of this is easy. I think some of it could be easy depending on what level you take it to. If you take it to the nth degree, it's not easy, so you will need to be really highly motivated. So, let's start with the basics. Hang on, let me tuck those two bits of paper away for a second. To have a spend-free year, to live without money, to live that wage, whatever it is, we need to think about needs versus wants. And there are some aspects of life and needing money and having to pay for things that we can't get away from. So I've kind of started this with our absolute basic needs, and this is where you will need to find money. So at our most basic level, we need shelter and warmth in the winter. We need food and we need water to survive. That's basically it. That's all we need to survive. I'm not even going to get into discussing the difference between thriving and surviving. Like I said, we're going brutal with this. This is about surviving. So that's literally all we need. The shelter, whatever your shelter is, the roof over your head, that has some associated costs with it. We're going to go into the bills in a minute. But if for one whole year, if literally those three things were the only three things you focused on, you would save a huge amount of money. Thing is, most of us want a bit more than that, don't we? But let's break this down. The shelter, I don't know your home, your housing situation. If you're in rented accommodation, rents in London are hideous. They're more than 50% of most people's incomes. So some of you may be wanting to go beyond frugal in order to save, so you can get a mortgage, get your foot on the property ladder, so you can pay less in terms of a mortgage repayment than you're paying to a private landlord, and then you've at least got an asset as well. You're buying your own asset. So if you're renting, it's a bit trickier to be able to do anything about your shelter costs. If you, in this year that I was talking about in the other video, if you can declutter, perhaps you can downsize, perhaps you can reduce your shelter costs just by downsizing. Who knows? It's definitely worth thinking about. Now, food, obviously we all need food. I am so fortunate, I'm blessed, and I never for a second ever take it for granted. I'm literally on a daily basis, I'm grateful for that space I've got to grow some food in. And as I mentioned in the previous video, you know, think about growing your own food. Think about space. Can you get some space to grow your own food? But if you can't, there are some things you can do to reduce your bills, your food bills. Obviously, there are some supermarkets which are cheaper than others. I think we all know these sort of discount supermarkets we've got these days, like Lidl and Aldi. You might have different ones in different countries. But one of the big things to think about, firstly, if you've got a whole bunch of food shops on your high street, take an afternoon, a morning, a day even, to go around them all doing your own little price checks for things that you regularly buy and eat. And it may be that you find one shop always has, you know, they do a loaf of bread for 80p. I'm thinking now of what I do, as opposed to like £1.50 in the supermarkets. So have an afternoon where you do your own research. But one of the big things is buy seasonal produce. For example, there's a shop near me. It's our Turkish supermarket. It's fantastic, love it. They do a lot of fresh produce, loads and loads of fresh produce. And I checked this the other day actually. So they do a 5 kilo box of tomatoes. What's 5 kilos? It's about £10, isn't it? Kilo is nearly £2. So let's say £10. I'm trying to convert for non-kilo watchers. This 5 kilo, £10 box of tomatoes at the moment is £6.99. Let's call it £7. £7 for 5 kilos. In the summer, the same shop does the same 5 kilo boxes of tomatoes for £2. So it's more than 3 times more expensive, to buy those fresh tomatoes at this time of year. So yeah, buy your veggies when they're in season. They should be much cheaper. Try to buy the veg grown in your own country too, rather than imports, because they should, in theory, be cheaper too. And when things are in season, like the tomatoes in the summer, maybe buy 2 boxes a week instead of 1 box. Use your 1 box fresh, use the other box to preserve, whether you bottle or freeze or whatever it is you do. Lay some down for the winter when they do become more expensive. So occasionally, itchy nose, occasionally you might spend more in your weekly shop, but it's actually then stocking you up for the winter when you'll then pay quite a bit less because of that stored produce, rather than paying just £2 a week in the summer and then £7 a week in the winter. Spend £4 a week in the summer, £0 a week in the winter on tomatoes. See what I mean? So yeah, think about buying, just going with seasonal produce. I think, you know, so many of us are so far removed from our food, from food production, that we just expect to see and buy whatever we want, whenever we want. So if we want an apple in February, we expect it, even though, you know, they were harvested in October. If we want strawberries in the middle of winter, tomatoes in the middle of winter, they will have had to have been grown in hothouses, they will have had to have lighting, they may have been imported. All of those things are adding expense. So yeah, buy in season, and wherever possible, buy locally. If you're buying locally, the chances are it will be a bit cheaper because that producer, there aren't the added costs of transport, refrigeration, all of those added costs. And actually, speaking of buying locally, have a look in your area, you know, and even in London we can do it. Think about buying direct whenever possible, so direct from the farm. cut out the middleman, as it were, of the supermarket, you know, the corner shop, whatever it is. If you can buy direct, that should also bring costs down slightly. Now, all of these things, they can take time, you know, as you research, as you go and locate these various places. What I would say is, yes, I think living without money or living on very little money, it actually takes more time than living with a wage. You get your wage in your hand, you've done 40 hours of work that week, you just go to the supermarket, don't think twice, just buy whatever you want, whenever. What I would suggest is, from this point, especially if you are going to have the experiment of a year without spending, is think of all this penny saving that you're going to do. Think of this now as your new job and work hard at it. Really work hard at it, because you will be rewarded. So yes, buy in season, buy direct whenever you can. Also, whenever you can, buy in bulk. I mean, check the prices, but generally, if and when you can buy in bulk, it will be more economical. So think about the things which store long term really well. So things like your lentils, rice, oil. Look at this. Look at the use by dates on them. And if something's got a 2-year use by date, great, because the chances are maybe you'll get through it in a year. So yeah, if you can buy in bulk, it almost always makes more sense to do that. It'll be cheaper in the long run, but do always check. Yeah, always check. When you are doing your shopping, if there are offers on, you know, if there's a 2 for 1. The other thing to say, when you go shopping, before you even go to the shops, work out your meal plan for the week. Work out what, you know, breakfast, lunch, supper, whatever it is. If it needs to be a packed lunch because you're taking it to work, think about that. And a packed lunch does not have to be sandwiches. So think about your 3 main meals a day. And if you like to snack, if you're a snacker, maybe add in a couple of snacks. But do your plan for the whole week, if you're a weekly shopper. Work out exactly, to the nth degree, exactly how much you need of each thing to do that week of meals. Take that list with you when you go shopping, so that you're not tempted by things that you don't really need. Remember, this is all about what do you need. It's not about what you want, it's about what you need. Am I banging that on enough? So, for example, if you need oats, because you're having oats for your breakfast, whether you're having porridge or you're having overnight oats, or like me, if you put oats in your smoothie in the morning, when I occasionally have it. If you're going to be buying oats anyway, and there's a 2 for 1 offer, or there's buy the second one for 50 pence, not 50 pence, for 50% less, again checking the use by dates, that makes sense to do that little extra purchase, because then the following week you won't have to purchase it at all. The reason I was saying about doing the menu plan and a really strict shopping list is it's really easy to go into shops. I know, I used to do it myself, and you see 2 for 1 on, I don't know, let's see now, cornflakes. You go, oh, that's a really good offer, I'll have that. I don't even eat cornflakes. Why am I buying it? Because it was on offer and it seemed like a bargain. Something is not a bargain if you don't use it. You know, I always think that about clothes in the sales. They say, 50% off. I got 50% off. This dress cost me 50 quid instead of 100. I've saved 50 quid. No, you haven't saved 50 quid. You've spent 50 quid. That's the whole point of sales. They're trying to get rid of stuff on you. So yeah, be a canny food shopper. And the other thing to think about, like I say, especially say with the seasonal veg, is think about bulk cooking. So if you're making a pot of curry, for example, think about, you know, doubling the quantity that you're going to cook, so you can have some for supper that night, a couple of portions for your packed lunch during the week at work, and then a couple of portions to pop in the freezer. Because if you've been able to buy some bulk veggies quite cheap, it makes sense. Cook them up, get them frozen, have them for supper, have them for your packed lunches. So there are loads of ways that you can save with your food buying. Really, really big ones. Buy seasonal, buy local and direct if possible. Buy in bulk. Stick to a strict shopping list. Now, water, obviously we all need water to survive. I've been thinking about this a lot in the last few days, having done that previous video. And I was mentioning, I do get a 25% discount for being a solo occupant. So please, please, please do check with your water provider. Are there any discount schemes? There may be discount schemes for solo occupancy. There may be discount schemes for low income. I know that there are a couple in the UK. Unfortunately, my water supply isn't part of that scheme. But wherever you're at, wherever you are, do check, are there any reductions that you qualify for? And if you have got a water meter fitted, you know, great, because essentially you can control your costs a bit more. Obviously, we're now talking about water saving. Don't ever put the washing machine on with only half a load. Always, always use a full load. What a waste if we do half a load on Monday and then Friday another half a load. Just let it all sit in. Actually, funny I should say that. Can you see over my shoulder that? That's my laundry basket. I pulled it out because I was thinking I would do a wash, but then looking at it, that's not a full load. It needs to be sitting like that in the basket. So yeah, don't flush the loo when you've had a pee. You don't need to flush the loo every time if it's just a bit. I love that phrase. If it's yellow, let it mellow. If it's brown, flush it down. I mean, none of us want to see someone else's poop floating around in the loo. Yeah, get rid of that. But if you've only had a wee, don't flush. How much water is that saving? Think about grey water. Think about recycling your other water. So whenever I've had a bath, I don't empty the bath when I've finished. I use my bath water for other things. So I use my bath water for flushing the loo. Bucket of bath water flushes the loo. I use it for watering my indoor plants, my seedlings, that sort of thing. I'll even use a bucket of it. I don't wash up in the kitchen, as in cutlery, food plates, whatever. I don't wash up every day. I don't make that much stuff. It's only a couple of plates a day. So what I quite often do is I'll have a bucket of grey water from my bath. Is everyone's stomach turning now? Are you all feeling a bit ill? Don't. It's just grey water. Fill up the washing bowl with it. Put my plates in it. And after 2 or 3 days, I've got enough plates to make it worthwhile washing. And because it's been sat in the grey water, that's got most of anything that's stuck on them. Bit of sauce, that's been left over, whatever. Or, if I've had a curry and I've scraped my plate, but there are little streaks of it. It's all soaked off, so actually when I do come to wash up, I can just use half a bowl of water because it doesn't take that much of a wash. That's what I mean about being brutal. That, some people may think, actually, no, that's going too far. That's not for me. You know what? That's fine. You go as far as you want to go. Just keep remembering what your goal is and why you're motivated to do this. And then you can decide, like I say, how far you want to go. Just before I turn the page, so like I'm saying, this is the essentials. This is what we need. All of us have to have this. It's basic. Everything else is a bit of an extra. I'm going to come to the first list of extras in a minute. But first, a quick word about bills, because there are all sorts of bills we need to pay. So the warmth, for instance, heating bill. On to our bills. I hope you all do this anyway, but let's explore it in any case. Again, in that previous video, I was talking about that kind of, that box, that drawer, however you keep them, all the paperwork associated with those bills you have, whether they're annual bills or monthly bills, all those payments that you make by standing order, by direct debit. The obvious ones are gas, electricity, water, phone, internet, car payments, car insurance, car tax, house insurance, contents insurance. You know, just have a day, get all of them out, absolutely every single last one of them out, and make a list. Write down a list of absolutely everything that you're paying out for. If it's something that you pay for annually, you can have a list for annual and monthly, and then amalgamate them, make one final list. So if it's an annual thing, divide it by 12, work out that sit with the calculator, work that cost out. So work out and have a look at and know exactly what it's costing you to have all those things on a monthly basis. I think it can be quite staggering, because sometimes, you know, when we're paying for things annually, we get that bill for, you know, say the insurance, the contents insurance. It's like, oh, it's 250 quid. You pay it. And then 3 months later, you get your car tax bills, whatever they are. I've no idea how much they are. Because they're coming along at different times, you maybe don't think of just how much that is every month, and therefore how much that is over the entire year. It's a bit scary. So, firstly, by getting them all written down, have a look. Again, be ruthless, be brutal. Are there things on there that you can get rid of? Do you really need? For instance, do you have a magazine subscription? I know quite a few folk have garden magazine subscriptions. You don't need them. That's the bottom line. We're talking about need and what you want them. You don't need them. Do without. There's so much information about gardening available, whether it's online, whether it's articles you read, you know, look at sites like the RHS, whether it's sites that you read stuff on, or YouTube videos of gardeners doing their thing, libraries with books and books and books. You do not need a garden magazine subscription. You don't need any magazine subscriptions. You don't need any newspaper subscriptions. The great thing for the vast majority of us who do have internet availability is, you know, there's a world of information available at our fingertips. I know it's not the same as being able to sit and browse a magazine or read a magazine in the bathtub, whatever it is. But this whole year of no spending for you, it's not about having that, it's like, oh, that's so nice. It's not about that anymore. You don't need it. Get rid of it. So this is what I mean about getting all your paperwork out. There will be things, I'm sure, for a lot of us that we've forgotten. We've forgotten that every October that subscription renews without us remembering to cancel it. Gym memberships. How many people have got a gym membership and don't use it? Cancel it now while you can, because quite a lot of gyms they have these. It's certainly the case in the UK. I hope this has been dealt with. It used to come up on Money Expert all the time. But unless you cancel 3 months before your membership ends, you get tied into another year's membership. Get it cancelled. You don't need it. There are other ways to exercise. So the first port of call is to go through, be brutal, and cancel all those things that you don't actually need. Keep telling yourself, keep thinking of those two words, want, need. You don't need it. That's all you need. There's a couple of other things I'm going to come on to in a minute, but essentially that's all you need. Everything else is want. Get rid of it if you don't need it. So then the remaining things that you do need, whether it's gas, electricity, all those other bits and pieces, have a look around. We all know that there are comparison websites these days. There's that new online, it was on Dragon's Den in the UK, a company called, I don't know what it's called, it's like something like Sort My Bills. It's a free service, and they'll do it annually for you, every year, annually. They'll always go and find the cheapest deal you can get for your gas, electricity, that sort of thing. So even if you don't use a service like that, remind yourself, have a do-it day at the beginning of the year or whenever you fancy, to go on all the sites, compare. I know some people go, oh, I haven't got the time, it's too much faff. But remember what I said earlier, saving all these pennies is your new job. Work hard at it to get the reward. So yeah, keep comparing. If you're due to renew on something like your telephone, your internet, that sort of thing, have a look around at what other offers are available from other companies. And let's say your phone is going to cost you 35 quid a month, phone internet, and you've looked around and you see, oh, it's 25. It's always worth ringing your supplier to say, I don't mind staying with you, but I've been offered 25 quid elsewhere, because quite often that supplier will say, okay, we'll do you for 25 quid. So don't assume that what your current supplier tells you your next year's bill is going to be is written in stone. It's not. You can haggle, you can argue with them to get the cost down. Yeah, it's definitely worth a haggle. With not just say with the water, like I was mentioning, but with anything like the energy suppliers, all sorts of other suppliers, check to see if there are any discount or reduction schemes available. Especially if you're like me, if you're living on your own, quite often there are schemes where there's a reduction for being a single occupant. So give that a good look at. I'm just looking at I really don't want to miss anything on this because it's important stuff. So I think, but I think the biggest tip, the biggest thing to say is to I know I'm weird. I like this kind of thing, and I know a lot of people don't. But force yourself. Get all that paperwork out. Get those lists made of literally every single penny that's going out of your home. Where is it going? You need to know where every single penny is going, because then you can decide, actually, I don't want these pennies to be going out of my home. I want to keep them. You can't possibly do that unless you have that knowledge, because you've gone through everything with a fine-tooth comb. Get that paperwork out, go through, make your list, be realistic and say, or not realistic, ruthless, and say, we simply do not need this expense anymore. It's got to go with the bills. Just coming on to another page, I was saying with, shelter, food, water, we need those. We have to have them. We have to have them to survive. We aren't talking about thriving. And there are a few other things I've written on this next page, which I think we probably do need. Especially if you're still going to work, and hopefully you're having a go at this year while you are still working, so you've got that bit of buffer, you've got that little, if anything goes a bit pear-shaped during the year. So we could also do with some clothes. If you've had your jolly good sort out, as I was suggesting in the other video, you may have found a load of clothes you forgot about. Yay! Travel. Now I've mentioned that because I'm thinking that a lot of you are still going to work. We'll come to travel in a second. And I've written on there, internet. So, well, clothes for the obvious reason. 1, it can be a bit chilly at this time of year. And 2, it's kind of just what's socially acceptable, isn't it? Is to be wearing clothes. As much as I love my nudie sea bathing, I ain't walking down the high street in the nud. So, of course, clothes. If you do need to buy something this year, I would highly recommend look for secondhand first, whether it's at charity shops, whether it's online, on eBay, because don't forget, you're going to be trying to sell a load of your old stuff on eBay, and just as you're selling that, someone else is doing the same. So it may be that thing you think you need, perhaps you need a formal dress because finally we're all going to weddings again. And if, like me, you really don't have anything to wear for that particular occasion, look online. Always look secondhand first. It's great for the planet, it's great for all of us. We're all swapping our clothes, aren't we? Travel, I've mentioned, because like I said, I'm assuming that a lot of you are still going to be working through this year of no spend. And obviously I've written down travel because most people need to travel to work. If you're lucky enough to be in walking distance of work, brilliant. Or within cycling distance, if cycling is safe and an option for you. I stopped cycling in London a number of years ago just because accidents and death amongst friends, it just scared me too much. When I was at the bookshop in South Kensington, I used to take the train up into London, but then I would walk. Once I was in central London, I'd walk to the shop. It was about half an hour walk, beautiful walk. Saved myself a small fortune by doing that and not getting into the tube system. Ideally, I suppose we'd all travel to work on public transport, because then we don't have all the costs of keeping a car on the road. I've never had a car, but from what I understand from friends, it's really expensive to have a car, even if you don't drive it. Even having a car sitting on your drive is costing you. Yeah, so I would highly recommend, if you can bear to, converting to public transport and selling your car and not having those expenses. And if you really need a car one day, if you're going for a day out, like Richard and Paul do, you hire a car for the day. Now, the thing with the travel is, I can't speak for the rest of the country, the rest of the world. In London, it's quite expensive. It works out much cheaper to buy an annual pass than to buy a monthly pass. However, it's a big expense up front. It's over £1,000 for my zone. I'm in zone 3. Some people live in zone 7, zone 8. It's even more expensive. I'm in zone 3. The centre of London is zone 1, so it's not that far. But it was over £1,000 a year. But having the annual pass, it's the same it was the same cost, roughly speaking, as if I was paying for 8 monthly passes. So it's almost like getting 4 monthly passes for free. So it's well worth doing if you can find that money up front. But here's something to check out. For instance, when I was at the hospital, I was at Great Ormond Street Hospital. It's a hospital up in the centre of town in zone 1. They have a fantastic, or they did have, a fantastic staff scheme where, I can't remember how it worked, but they would buy the season ticket, the 1 year season ticket up front for the staff, and I can't remember, did we pay them back monthly or was it out of our wages, whatever it is, can't remember now. So it's well worth checking with your employer to see if they have an annual travel pass scheme that they operate, so that you're not having to find that money up front for the whole year. But here's another thought. If you are going to have this no spend year this year, maybe even a no spend 2 years, or let's say you just do this 1 year, but you're going to be working for the next 3 or 4 years, as part of your no spend year, a chunk of that money that you save, you could set it aside for your annual pass for next year. Bit of a discount. So yeah, it's well worth checking out if your area, not the area, your work does such a thing. So now finally on this kind of extra other than shelter, food and water, I've written internet. Where would we all be without the internet these days? Oh my goodness. So I'm going to say that, whatever else you decide you can do without, I think I would advise that probably try not to do without the internet, try to keep it for a number of reasons. One, because it's such a great tool, an educational tool. Like I was saying about learning to garden, there's so much information there. The next step from gardening is preserving your food. Again, so much information on storing, bottling, freezing, whatever it is. Things like, how to repair your washing machine, how to clean your oven for no money, how to fix your own car, all this. Part of the thing about no spend is trying to do everything yourself. So all the fixes and repairs in your home that you will at times need to do, whether it's your clothes, putting a new zip in a jacket, whatever it is. This is why I think don't get rid of the internet, because the chances are if you need to do a fix or repair, you'll find out how online, rather than not knowing how to do it and having to get someone in to do it for you. So from that point of view alone, I think it's well worth keeping from that sort of educational point of view. Also, of course, it's entertainment. There's so much entertainment available online. So if you're having your no spend year and you're not going out to the pictures anymore, and you're generally just not going out very much at all, at least with the internet there is that possibility for entertainment, all sorts, old TV show episodes that are online, having the online access like I do for things like Channel 5, Dave, all those comedy channels that I love, where you can watch them online completely free. Well worth it for entertainment alone if suddenly you are not going out at all. And of course, another thing of if you're not going out, I mean, I know it's weird because we're in lockdown still, but we won't be in lockdown forever. But if you normally, meet up with 2 or 3 pals at the pub every week, that's a no-no in the no-spend year. But you can still have that kind of, the fun of that. I mean, we've all got used to this year having our video calls with each other, having our Zoom calls with each other. So get yourself some cheap beer from the supermarket as part of your weekly shopping allowance, and arrange a Zoom with all your mates. Maybe encourage your mates to have a spend-free night at home. I mean, not entirely spend-free because you've bought the beers and you've bought the internet, but compared with the cost of going to a pub. So I think the internet, and again, it's great for communication. We can stay in touch with our friends. We can do that whole video calling thing. Brilliant. So I think, sometimes I think is the more I can do, is the more I can do without, the more things I can cut out of my life. Whatever route I go down, now I'm not going to get rid of the internet because it just gives me too much. And the other thing is, if you are, again, this is referring back to that last video, if you are hoping to start some sort of cottage industry to just give you a little bit of income coming in so you can still keep paying any bills, almost certainly you are going to be doing that as an online business. So of course you need your internet connection for your business. I've been talking for ages, haven't I? I'm just getting distracted suddenly because I can see across the street, there's the new flats across my street, and I think the middle one, I think they've got a new cat. I can see I'm not going to turn around and point the camera because of sort of, just privacy issues, but the windows in those apartments, fancy apartments, they go right to the floor, and he or she, I'm saying he because it's a Tom, I mean not Tom, it's a ginger, I always associate ginger with Toms, is right in the window looking cute as pie. Right, that's me digressing. So let's have a very quick recap summary. Think about need versus want. These things we need. I would say these things we also need. Most other stuff, it's a want. Get rid of all that extraneous stuff that's just want, not need. Be ruthless about your bills. Make that list of annual and monthly. Merge it so everything's monthly. Look at exactly where you are at today. Where is your money going today? Which bits of those monies do you want to stop going out of your hands? And all the time that you're doing this, if you haven't already organised it, set up a savings account. Not because of interest. I think interest is rubbish at the moment. In the UK, anyway, our interest rates are really low. Shop around, do whatever you want by way of the savings accounts, but definitely set up an account that's completely separate to everything else, your bills, your standing orders, whatever it is. An account that is not to be touched. And literally every week, whatever you've managed to not spend that you normally would, put it into that savings account. Every time you sell some of your junk on eBay, put it into that savings account. Any money you generate outside of the money you normally generate within work, put it in that savings account. And, you know, truly, hopefully by the end of the year, you will see a decent sum amass. You can then, I think it's, this is a personal thing now, I would probably do it, amass it over the year, and then at the end of the year decide where it's best to spend it. If I was really struggling with debt, I would have taken my debt advice in the meantime. It may be that actually those savings are better off being used on a monthly basis to pay off credit cards if you've got high interest credit cards and they're spiralling out of control. But yeah, literally from now on, that's it for you. This is a no spend year. It's going to be a hard working year because you're going to be doing so much outside of your normal work life anyway to make all of this work. But the rewards are possible. I'm living proof of it. I'm coming up now in about 7 weeks' time. It will be 4 years since I had a paycheck in my hand. And I live okay, don't I? It is possible if you put the work in. So look, I hope that's been helpful. Like I said, you will be looking at this you will all have different reasons for looking at this. Whatever the reasons, know why you want to do this beforehand, because I think that will help with your motivation if you've got a really strong, clear end goal. Whatever you're doing it for, I'm going to wish you good luck. Hard work, but good luck. And hopefully in another year's time, I'd love to hear back from you how you've done in a whole year, how little you've spent. Yeah, maybe we should have it. Will someone remind me in a year? We'll have a catch up about this, and then you can all kind of comment in a year's time to say how you've done. Good luck, everyone. Be brutal, be ruthless, work hard. You'll get there. All right, my lovely, it's time for me to go. I will see you again. Oh, probably in the garden again. So until then, please look after yourselves. Feel inspired, feel motivated, feel that, yes, you can give this a go. Because you know what? You blimmin' well can. Good on you. Get stuck in. Cheerio, everyone.